In times of trouble or extreme stress, we all lean on our friends. So it makes sense that as Trump anxiously awaits the Mueller report, he cozies up to his buddies. And who else but the man who wrote him beautiful love letters, brutal North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Backtrack a few steps here. Yesterday, the U.S. Treasury Department announced sanctions on 2 North Korean shipping companies, which Trump's national security advisor John Bolton said were, quote, important actions by the Treasury Department because, quote, maritime industry must do more to stop North Korea's illicit shipping practices. Flash to today, just a few hours ago, when the president scrapped those sanctions in a single tweet, saying this: it was announced today by the U.S. Treasury that additional large-scale sanctions would be added to those already existing sanctions on North Korea. I have today ordered the withdrawal of those sanctions. When asked the reason behind Trump's turnaround, the White House press secretary said this: President Trump likes Chairman Kim, and he doesn't think these sanctions will be necessary. Karine Jean-Pierre, senior advisor to MoveOn.org, joins our conversation. Karine, go.
Yes, we're all in that space today, and always, constantly. Look, I just think that Donald Trump is being played by Kim Jong-un, and not just Kim Jong-un, but these other dictators. And it begs the question of what's happening here. Is it that he wants to be like them, or do they have something on him, or is he just weak? And it just doesn't make sense at all. It has been clear. His own administration said we need these sanctions in order to get to denuclearizing North Korea. So why would you do this? And that's why I'm like, there's just more questions than answers in all of this.
A smart man,
yeah,
you said to me at a table on the other side of this town that you thought he'd been duped by Kim Jong-un. Is this more evidence of that or something even more sinister?
Well, absolutely. I think he's been duped over the last 2 years when it comes to North Korea. But the decision to impose sanctions on the country or to increase them is the result of an interagency process. So it's the Departments of Treasury, State, Defense, Commerce, the intelligence community, and the White House to decide what is in the best interest of U.S. national security. And so a decision was made. And now Mr. Trump today arbitrarily, unilaterally, and I would argue mindlessly, decides to relax the pressure on Kim Jong-un, who hasn't done a single thing to move down the road of denuclearization. So I think it just demonstrates once and again that he's willing to give up a lot of things. He stops exercises with our allies and partners in the region. He does all these things, and there's been nothing at all that's come back from Kim Jong-un.
But so the reason he gave was because he likes him. Does that suggest that he doesn't share the goal of a denuclearized North Korea? Or does it suggest that he's so feeble, he's so lame, that all you have to do is tell him his hair looks nice and you get what you want?
Well, I don't know what he was thinking of, but if it was part of a package that, okay, we're not going to impose additional sanctions because North Korea has decided to allow international inspectors maybe to go to a facility, or he's decided to take some type of positive step, that is rational, that makes sense. But to say that he's doing this because he likes him, I mean, how does that stand up to any type of, logical argument or debate about Mr. Trump's lack of understanding? If he's supposed to be the world's best negotiator, I must tell you, he's being played over and over again, whether it's by Kim Jong-un, Putin, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, and others. He is just drinking in what it is that they're giving him.
You use the word rational, and George Conway, husband of senior advisor Kellyanne Conway, has really been pushing the envelope on this set of questions, whether he's a rational actor, whether there's something wrong with him. James Clapper, who your former colleague, has questioned at various points in the presidency whether he should have access to the nuclear codes. Former Republican Senator Bob Corker has suggested he's not fit for the office he holds. Does this conduct this is back to Flynn, who had the right and the authority to negotiate sanctions with the Russians, but he lied about it. This is different because the why question is slightly different. He has the authority to ease sanctions, but you're calling it irrational. There's no why. We didn't get anything. What kinds of questions are in your mind about the president?
Well, I think, as Frank Figliuzzi said, it is very abnormal. This is abnormal behavior. It's bizarre. It is demonstrating his assertiveness that he wants to just be impetuous and make decisions without the understanding of how this is going to reverberate as far as the impact on U.S. national security. So whether we're talking about domestic politics, whether we're talking about the international world stage, I think Donald Trump just decides to do what he wants to do. It might be based on the last conversation he had with somebody. I think he throws a lot of things out just to see what the reaction is, but to demonstrate that he is in control. And that's very, very dangerous, I think, for this country, that one person can do these things. As you say, certainly he has the authority to do these things, but a president of the United States is vested with so much authority, and rightly so he can deal, he or she can deal with these national security challenges. But if they're just going to exercise this without any real thinking or logic or rationality, that is deeply disturbing, not just to this country and our citizens, but when I talk to people from around the globe, they're looking at what's happening in Washington and saying, what is up with the United States? What is up with this guy who's in the Oval Office? This is not good, not just for the United States, but for the world.
Frank Figliuzzi, a smart man named Frank Figliuzzi, said something on this show this week about early warning signals. And you were talking about the president. This, I thought of you when I saw this action, this reversal of his own administration's policy. Is this the kind of thing, the kind of behavior you were worried about?
Yeah, I think it's behavior that says it's me against the world, and I'm the only one who can get this right. I don't trust anything else, including the intelligence community. And John mentioned this, or you mentioned this thing of optics, right? Does my hair look good? Yes, it does. Great, we're friends. Optics are really important to him with regard to North Korea. He keeps saying they haven't tested a missile, they haven't fired a missile since we started talking. What he seems not to want to grasp is that they may not need to fire and fire missiles anymore because they've got that down. But as long as he has some kind of agreement with Kim Jong-un that, hey, don't make me look bad, don't fire any missiles that could be on the news, we're going to be good. The other thing, Nicole, is that this easing back of sanctions, as best as anyone can tell, and it's still confusing as to what he's talking about, has to do with easing up on sanctions on Chinese shipping companies that were helping North Korea get their parts for their nuclear program. So he's not just easing up on North Korea, he's sending a message that if countries like China want to continue to circumvent sanctions on North Korea, it's okay. So he's just, in one fell swoop, he may have helped China economically, and he may have helped North Korea return to their missile program.
It suggests to me, Chuck, behavior that must be under scrutiny by Robert Mueller. And I was reminded today of three individuals who may or may not have been helpful or shared their experiences with Robert Mueller: H.R. McMaster, Jim Mattis, and Rex Tillerson. People who have seen him conduct foreign policy up close may very well be the most alarmed of all.
Sure. One of the questions we ask as prosecutors when we're talking to witnesses about someone we're investigating is, tell me about him. Tell me, how does he behave? How does he react? Because you want to understand the subject, the target of the investigation. Right. I can tell you, there's a couple of things I desperately want to read. One is the classified, unabridged version of the Mueller report, which I'll probably never see. And the other, which fascinates me, would be the profiles that that countries around the world do of our president.
Yeah.
Because they do that, and John knows that well. Those have got to be really interesting documents, don't you think, John?
Yes.
What would they say? Come on, let's dear President of whatever, you're going to meet Donald Trump. What would you write if you were helping them write one?
Well, they would address the psychological profile that they have been able to develop, to talk about how erratic he is, to talk about his narcissism. I believe that they will put that in there. They'll talk about how he pursues things that are going to advance him personally or politically, and so that it's unpredictable in some respects, but it's very predictable in another thing. You can always expect Donald Trump to do whatever is going to advance his interests, irrespective of. And he's going to lie and cheat about it.
So which country wrote the best dossier on Donald Trump? I mean, it would seem that Russia's gotten the most, so maybe Putin's people wrote the best one, right? He wants to build a tower here. He likes whatever in a hotel. I mean, who wrote who has gamed him the best?
Well, I'd like to read the British intelligence profile of them, because the British intelligence is very good. I think they are very perceptive on it. But I do think that all of these leaders, the authoritarian leaders, have been able to take advantage of his being prone to flattery. Yeah. But I think a lot of the leaders of the liberal Western democracies are really quite unsettled because there used to be strength in Washington and a sense that you can count on the United States to support what you're trying to do in terms of, regional or international politics and geostrategic objectives. But this individual in the Oval Office, Donald Trump, is somebody that is so different from anything we've experienced in the past. And that's why our friends and partners, I believe, are worried. And the autocrats and authoritarians around the world are gleefully taking advantage of the ability to manipulate and exploit Donald Trump's failures.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.